What I'm looking for is a way to escape from serious, constant pain. And in one of your readings, you say, well, you have to state it in a positive fashion. Okay, is my leg is not going to hurt today, or that's still talking about the pain, though. And I'm just wondering how I can take that leap from leaving the pain, which just popped up 2 years after a discectomy, which fixed the pain for 2 years. And all the doctors can't find anything to operate on, so it's up to me. And so instead, they give me significant drugs. I really don't care to live on significant drugs. It robs me too much of the fun I can have through life, the interactions I can have with my family.
We're happy that you've had the opportunity to listen to us already here today, talking about the emotional scale. And we can feel that you have clarity about what we've been talking about already here. So we think that as we talk specifically to you about this specific subject, that you will receive even greater clarity. And in the next few days, as you deliberately apply this new knowledge, you will begin to see significant enough results that you will know you're on the right track. So, now, the most significant thing that we want to say to you is that your discomfort or pain, even though there is a specific path that you can see that led you to it. In other words, if a truck runs over your foot, and you say, my foot is hurting, and someone says, why does your foot hurt? The answer is, because a truck ran over it. But that's only part of the answer, because there's another reason that the truck ran over your foot.
My foot was in the wrong place?
But there is a reason that your foot was in the wrong place. And that reason was you were not in alignment with who you really are and what you really want. In other words, anything that comes to you that is detrimental in nature is the disallowance of the well-being that would be coming to you if you were not disallowing it. In other words, we really want you to focus on the idea or the notion or, from our perspective, the law or the fact or the truth that is universal, that there is not a source of evil, just like there's not a source of darkness.
Right.
And we want you to play with us just a little while that there is also not a source of pain. Because as long as you think there is a source of pain, then you keep going to the doctor, and eventually you come to this place where they say to you, teacher that you are, we cannot find the source of your pain. And we're happy that they can't find the source of your pain. We love it when you get right up against a wall where you have no other recourse than to do the only thing that really works anyway. And that is to come into vibrational alignment with who you are. So as you play with that idea that there is no source of pain, that there is the allowing of well-being or the disallowing of well-being, then it makes it easier to understand why someone's foot would get run over. What happened to you that caused you to require the discectomy?
Oh, I had a ruptured disc.
And what was that about?
I don't know. I cannot think of a single element that I was on a business trip. I had a very sore back. I did yoga stretches, etc., that got me well enough to stand up and teach for 2 days. And I was feeling better, and I took the flight home, and by the time I got off the plane, it was just horrendous.
All right, so it's easy for us to explain in a situation like this, but we would be explaining the same thing even if you said somebody hit you with a luggage cart. In other words, when you have a little bit of negative emotion, and you haven't had the benefit of a recent reminder from someone like Abraham that what the negative emotion is an indicator of resistance within your vibration. What the negative emotion is an active vibration that goes contrary to the true vibration of who you are. So, for example, the true vibration of who you are is you are a good person, you are of value, where a contradictory vibration would go something like, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing a good enough job. That's just an example of contradictory vibrations. So, when you get a contradictory vibration going on within you, and you don't know that you're doing it, and you feel some negative emotion, but negative emotion is pretty normal. Almost everybody's a little ornery or a little overwhelmed or whatever under certain circumstances.
Roll it right off, right?
So you don't think anything about it. You don't pay any attention to what it's telling you. And what it was telling you is you've got an activated vibration within you that is gaining momentum, because everything is gaining momentum. Because whatever's vibrating, law of attraction is bringing more of it. And so if you don't do something about releasing some resistance around this subject, it's going to get bigger. And when it gets bigger, it's going to be stronger negative emotion. And if you still don't do anything about it, it's going to get bigger. And when it does, your response is going to be even stronger negative emotion about it, until it will get big enough that it will be a physical sensation, until it will get big enough that you will attract a circumstance. In other words, everything comes in response to the vibration you got going on.
Well, and have you even thought of the big release that you spoke of earlier?
Of making the transition into non-physical and being...
Yeah, it's just who wants to stick with pain all the time?
Well, no one does. And the thing that we really want you to hear is we want you to, for just a little while, think about the pain that you're feeling being about resistance, not being about whatever is going on with your disc. In other words, let it for a while in your mind be about your vibrational countenance, not about your physical apparatus, because you could have everything in the world wrong with your physical body. You could have all kinds of labels stapled to different parts of you describing different ailments, and you could change the way you are thinking about some things and release some layers of resistance, and every bit of that discomfort would go away. If you knew then what you know now, you could have felt this knotting or convulsing of whatever muscle was causing the discomfort, and you could have relaxed yourself into alignment rather than had surgery into alignment, you see. And anytime you do it through your natural resources, it is always better for what happens later, because for one reason only. Now hear this, because it's critical to what comes next to you. Not because you can't get to where you want to be now because of the surgery, but because if you had relaxed yourself back into alignment then, you would be more likely to believe that you can relax yourself back into alignment now.
Whenever needed. Right.
And we want you to know that you can relax yourself back into alignment. We want you to not think about this surgery as something that is not reversible. Instead, we want you to say, no matter where I am and no matter what condition I am in, I can find a thought that feels better than the thought that I'm thinking. And if I will consistently do that, I will release the resistance, which is the only reason ever for any pain in my body. You feel powerless to do anything about it because the doctors have all said to you, we cannot figure out what the problem is here, therefore we cannot do anything to remedy it.
And the things that I've tried, yoga, science of the mind, things like that, have not made a difference either.
Well, we think that within all of those things that you have tried, there are components that are very powerful that can help you.
Yes.
But until you make your journey from pain to no pain quantifiable, you can't tell. In other words, we think that you are making some headway and then still feeling so much pain that you turn around. In other words, it's like Jerry and Esther leaving Phoenix on their way for San Diego and getting confused in Yuma and going back to Phoenix, and then going to Yuma and then going back to Phoenix, and then saying, this is a never-ending journey. And we see people, they go from despair into anger, and then the world says your anger is misplaced, you shouldn't do that, and they go back in despair, and then they come naturally to anger again, and then the world says you shouldn't do that, you're upsetting the apple apple cart and then they go back to despair. So they just bounce around from despair to anger because they haven't taken the conscious step of saying, hey, I know you don't like me in my anger, but my anger feels better than the despair. Therefore, I'm going to stay here for a while and hopefully you'll be around to see me find the breath of fresh air that I will find in frustration. But for right now, this anger is serving me well. And we think that those are the steps that you are needing to take. You need to acknowledge where you are and leave everybody else out of the equation as you attempt to reach for something that feels better. And right now, even though it feels to you that what we're really talking about and only what we're talking about is about the physical pain, we want to say to you that there was something there before the physical pain, that the physical pain is now just a stronger indication of. Yes. And so here's something that will help you. Someone said to us one day, Abraham, I have very serious illness. In fact, more than one, she said. And she said, I'm really irritated about it, even with you, Abraham, she said, because I have a friend who's very negative and very healthy. And I am much more positive than she is, and I've got all this stuff going on. What's going on? It doesn't seem fair. And we said, remember the two components. Your friend is not summoning energy in the powerful way that you are. So the resistant thoughts that she has are not causing such a contradiction in energy. When you go 5 miles an hour and you hit a tree, it's not that big of a deal, you see. So somehow along your path, you have goosed up your wanting. You hit the ground running, so to speak. You want things to be better. You worry about too many things that you can't do anything about. You take on the problems of the world. You feel resentful that people who are in places where they should exercise wisdom don't seem to have any wisdom.
No.
All of these things bother you. And as you let yourself focus upon these things that matter to you, and you beat the drum of how much they matter, and then at the same time you acknowledge, I can't do anything about that. What happens to you is you set yourself up for a world of hurt. And you're going to know by the relief that you begin feeling when you stop doing that. And the sales job that we do every chance we get in an environment like this is to say to you, nothing is broken, nothing needs to be fixed. This world is big enough for everybody to do their own thing. And until you decide that you're going to do your own thing and leave them to doing whatever their own thing is, even if it feels to you like it's ruling the world, you just got to let them do whatever they're doing while you pay attention to what you were about.
Right.
You can always talk yourself into a better feeling place. And why you don't do that is some personal quest that so many of you have of wanting to pay some sort of price for the well-being that comes to you or something like that. Mm-hmm. In other words, there's something that was programmed into you early on in your life that said, if you struggle and suffer, then the reward will be sweeter. And your parents and teachers sort of encourage that, don't they?
Yeah, it sounds something like being raised Catholic. Yeah.
If you're willing to suffer enough, then you will receive a greater reward. And we say it is so contrary to your guidance system that is really there, but we understand why it takes a little bit of reorienting. So when we say to you, there is not anything so wrong with your physical apparatus that you can't soothe yourself back into comfort in your body, we are not kidding you. And when we say to you, it's not about your body, it's about the other things that have been eating you up. It's about those other things that you feel compelled to do something about that you don't think you can do anything about. That's what's put the strain on your body. In the same way as if you were pulling in a tug-of-war fashion and you strained muscles, it is not different from that. It is emotional, vibrational stress. That's all it is. So when people say, what are you doing about your physical condition? You say, I'm soothing myself into alignment. And when they say, how do you do that? You mean you're in the jacuzzi? You mean you're floating on the mattress? You mean you're having massages? You say, oh, well, yeah, I do all of that if it feels good. But what I mean by soothing myself into alignment is I worry less about things. I'm not sweating the small stuff, and it turns out it's all small stuff. I'm giving myself the break that I've needed for a long time. I'm appreciating every chance I get, and I'm reaching for the best feeling thought I have access to. And I'm talking myself into feeling better about most things. And little by little, I'm just finding relief about this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And in the process, my body is feeling better, yes, but even more, I feel better. I'm starting to like me more. I'm starting to laugh more. I'm starting to relate more. Nicer people are coming around me. I just feel better the whole way around. I'm actually quite happy that this happened, because I don't know for sure if it hadn't been something so big that it would have gotten my attention enough to make me start doing the only thing that ever would work anyway.
Right.